So this video, it's going to be real. I mean real without any of these fancy edits and everything else, but it's going to help. I know it will. I was never born with anxiety and I've never had a generalized anxiety disorder. And that's what actually makes me upset about making this video. The thing that makes me upset is that this is something that I wasn't even born with. For months on end, it was debilitating. I couldn't feel like myself and every day felt like a massive chore I had to go through. Seems familiar? I always felt like there was something wrong with the current moment. Because I can sit here and talk about this, and with you watching this, I could have said I miss my old life, I missed the person I used to be. Like I really missed the dude I used to be. I missed the man who never felt insecure to talking to anyone. But now I can sit here and tell you that I do feel better now. That I really do feel like my old self again. Like in a good way, without all these negative traits I used to have. And because of this, I can tell you that you can too. I know you can. Therefore, you really should watch this video or just listen to it when it's playing on your TV in the background with enthusiasm and with a good outlook on the future, because you can get better. And I know this because I got better. So I want to share 5 things. These 5 methods that really allowed me to feel like myself again and how you can use them too. And you should get enthusiastic about getting back to your old positive self or becoming this new positive person as well, who's more smiley, more enthusiastic about life, has a positive outlook and is more laid back. You should want to be calm in your future stressful situations and not let this demon called anxiety ruin your life. So listen up, because that's who you can be and that's who you should be. And I will help you get there. So let's start from the beginning. You need to understand what anxiety is in the first place. Where does it come from and why is it so hard to get rid of it? Because for such a long time I saw anxiety like this monster in my mind. This creature that I hated so much that made life so very difficult for myself. And yes, this all made life very difficult for me, but it was not the monster that I thought it was to be. Because what anxiety actually is, if I simplify it to the core, it's a survival mechanism. It helps us to survive in a sense. Like, think about it. If our ancestors wouldn't have been anxious about the right things, they would have gotten killed. Because when we are anxious, certain chemicals are released in our brain that causes fight or flight or freeze reactions. So as you're going about your day, you're going to be at either one of these. Fight or flight, or the other one that I like to call rest and digest mode. The last one is what you should be doing definitely more of. Meaning you should be doing more of this resting and digesting. Recovering from your day, resting from these hard workouts you just had in the morning, or even resting your mind from that intense work you did earlier. Or even digesting all of those fruits and nutrients. So eat your broccoli, kids. Your parents were right all along. Anyways, so what in theory should happen when you're in danger or you're tackling a situation that is really intense in life? Then you should enter this fight or flight mode. So fight or flight is this survival mode. But what if the world, our lives, has come to a state where there is no longer anything we need to fight or run away from? That's where today's world, or aka modern world, kinda ruins things. It kinda does, right? Normally, when a massive rock is about to fall on your head or you're running away from a vicious animal, you should feel anxious because this actually keeps you safe from harm. So we need it. But modern life really doesn't require us to feel anxious about these things anymore. And I really do hope you don't have to be anxious about those things. Like if you're living in an area where massive boulders are falling on your head and you have to run away from vicious animals, move. So after you move from that really disturbing place, the problem kicks in with anxiety when we start to feel anxious about everyday normal things, like talking to people, having a math test, or even having like a job interview. Anxiety is actually not this scary creature that we need to hide from, that we need to put away and hate so much. Instead, it's something that we should appreciate because it's something that's keeping us alive. It gets much easier when you start to understand that anxiety is simply an emotion, because that's what it actually is. An emotion, just a physical sensation in your body. And of course, it's not the pleasant sensation. It's just your brain and your body telling you, get out of here. Something is really fucked up in this moment. But usually there's nothing wrong. We are just anxious for no reason at all. Your brain and body just want to be alive, and they trigger this fight or flight mode just to be alive. There is a good chance that this is all trauma-based, and I hope this is not the case with you. That was not the case with me though. But the thing that's happening is that you were put in this fight or flight mode for easier reasons, and you had to go through these moments with anxiety kicking in. And maybe it never left, and it just decided to stay in your head. Maybe some time ago someone was fighting you and you just couldn't fight back, and now you might be stuck in this fight or flight mode. Your body and your brain are now constantly on edge because you have this feeling that everything and everyone around you is going to hurt you. And the last thing, I mean like the very last thing your brain and body wants, is to be in that same state where you were when you got traumatized. So everything and everyone is now a threat, So no wonder that you're now in this fight or flight mode. And speaking of fight and flight, let's talk about the nervous system real quick. So you have two nervous systems in you. One is the sympathetic nervous system in you, and the other one is the parasympathetic nervous system. So the second one, the parasympathetic nervous system, is your rest and digest mode. It's where you want to be, where you feel totally good and fine. On the other hand, if your sympathetic nervous system kicks in, you don't feel good at all, and this is what we called this fight and flight mode. Your body and your brain thinks that you're in danger, so you tend to feel more anxious. So how can you get from the sympathetic nervous system to the parasympathetic nervous system? I'm going to get into it really soon. So when you're in this constant fight or flight mode, you are going to feel anxious. You're not sleeping well, you're not resting your muscles as you should, you're not even digesting your food as you're supposed to. And now just imagine what that does to your body. For your physical and mental health, this might have been going on for weeks, for months, or even for years. And that is really scary to think about. You can't allow yourself to live like that. You really can't. And this is hypothetical that you're in this state. I really hope you're not. But you really can't allow yourself to be in that state. But we can do something about it. We can. I'm a literal example that you can do it. You weren't born with it, and even if you were, I still believe that you can do something about it. First of all, you need to start believing in yourself. You need to start believing that you can change, and for the better. You can. So let's start with the first step, and the first step is to calm the mind down. And it's by using affirmations. And how I do this is that I'm talking to myself, whether it be in my head or it's actually like physical talking. I'm saying to myself that I'm safe, I'm doing good, and it's okay to relax. This might seem a little bit dumb to do, but your brain needs permission from yourself to relax, and so does your body. The point is that if your brain hears those things like you're fine, you're doing okay, then your brain is going to believe you. Why shouldn't it? Hopefully you are in control of your mind. I really do hope so. But your brain will believe you because you are being genuine. Because of course you're not going to think those affirmations when you're being chased by a cougar in the woods. That's just not normal. In those situations, you would never think that you're fine. None of us would. So if you're genuinely thinking that you're good, you actually must be, and your brain starts to believe you. Because remember, all what anxiety is just an emotion. So for the past few years, I have been changing my life around a ton. And if I look back like 2 to 3 years ago, I cannot even recognize myself. At the time of this change, I can remember I was getting anxiety attacks on a regular basis. And when I knew I had to change my life around, I knew I had to change my environment. And for me, it was totally changing my life. But for you, it might be as simple as just changing the place where you live, where you go to the gym, where you work, or even smaller things like what you eat on a daily basis. But for myself at the time when I was totally changing my life around, to be exact, I changed where I lived, what I do, who I communicated to, what I do for a living, and how I keep my body healthy with working out and what I eat. So I did everything. I'm not saying that my anxiety came from all of these things, like the root cause might have not been those things, but it sure did work. So recently, like a week ago, I passed by the place I used to live, and a little while after that, I passed by the place where I used to have my band practices, where we had these massive parties and crazy rehearsals at, and I really got this flashback. I'm sure you know the feeling. You instantly start remembering those smells, those activities you did, and it really does bring you back to those moments for a short little while. So I got that flashback where my mind was at that time and how I was feeling in those times when I was anxious. And I said to myself in my mind that I'm safe, I'm good, and I can let go. And I didn't say this only once, I kept repeating this in my mind over and over again until I actually felt it, that I'm okay, that I'm actually okay. The other affirmation I remember saying to myself was, thank you brain, I'm in control from this point on. This one, yes, is a little bit more playful and has a little bit of gratitude in it, but again, I think you should be grateful for trying to breaking your anxiety. It's a very big step for us and a really meaningful thing in our lives. You're actually not rooting your anxiety out, you're just telling it when it needs to be in use. Because of course you will need it when you're being chased by a vicious animal, but you don't need it to kick in everyday situations like just talking to people or having a job interview. So in situations that are under your control. So when I'm coaching people online in my courses about being self-aware, taking control and breaking addictions, I remind people all of the time that they need to be in control of their own mind. It's like this funny thing that if I tell you to think about Waldo or a red car, you immediately start thinking about it. You just can't force it out of your mind. It's all because you have the imagination, the creativity, and the power. You are simply capable of thinking that thought, of deciding where you want want this thought to go and lead to. So what this all means is that you and yourself alone have the power to plant some thoughts in your brain that also make you feel more relaxed and feel more comfortable with your own self, that make you feel more grateful and more present in the current moment. Again, when I coach these people online, I always say to them to think positive thoughts and think where they want their lives to go in a positive way. And of course, I'm not being naive. I know we have problems in our lives, also negative thoughts and thoughts that make us just feel anxious about situations that don't need that sort of attention. And yes, these thoughts do come to us, but replace them. Of course, think about them, but also analyze them and replace them with positive thoughts and reasonable outcomes. Just let go and move on. You can think about whatever you want. You can choose this red car to be a car that hits you on the street, or the car that picks you up that has joyful people in it and takes you to the place that you want to go. It's all mental. It's actually crazy awesome to know how the brain works and to lead it where you want it to. I just love it. But do you see where I'm getting at here? Tell your mind and body that you are safe, because why would you do that if you weren't? There is real power in what you decide your brain thinks and where you want these thoughts to go. It's all about identity, right? Choose the thought you want to think, choose who you want to become, and become it. So let's move on to calming down the body now, because the body and the mind work hand in hand and anxiety works through both of them. So because anxiety is an emotion and we feel this fight or flight mode when anxiety kicks in, our body will also be in a state of alertness, just like our brain will be. So when we enter the state of calm, so does our body. So enter exercise. So exercise does two things. First of all, it gets you out from your head, which is where your anxiety is rooting from the first place. If you ever, let's say for example, have tried the Wim Hof method, the reason why this method is so effective when we do these inhales and exhales, again inhales and exhales, and then you hold this exhale. I can't actually remember how much it actually was, like if it was 30 seconds or a minute, but you do get what I mean. But during this exercise or breathing method, there is no space. There is no space for your mind to go wandering because you're extremely focused on your breathing or relaxing your muscles in your body. And you just don't leave any room for your mind to go wandering in anxiety land in the first place. Let's say, for example, if I told you to do pull-ups for the next 1 minute with maximum effort, there will be no room in your head for anxiety or even thinking about anything else that could possibly make you feel anxious. Again, if I told you to run for a minute or two and really push it, there again wouldn't be any room for anxious thoughts. You might be thinking about some things like how not to pass out, for example, or why is this dude making me run in the first place? Because I am. I'm so sorry. But my point is that your anxiety doesn't have any room to grow under these circumstances. So another plus for exercise is that your body will reward you after. Not even going into the subject that exercising is a no-brainer thing that everyone should do on a daily basis. It's a fundamental thing that we need to do in order to survive. It's not like even an option. You should be moving your body every single day for it to perform at maximum capacity. If there's anyone out there who's saying anything otherwise, they're lying and they're fucking crazy. That's a fact. So after exercising, doing that essential thing your body needs, your body will reward you. It releases those endorphins that make you feel great and good. It makes you feel relaxed and okay. And when your body feels relaxed, your mind tends to follow. Like, why shouldn't it? Your brain sees your body feeling okay and having a good time and follows the same path. So this means your mind and body start getting into sync. So here's the thing though, if you're doing those pull-ups or running to the max, that's really intense, it does activate the sympathetic nervous system. And if you remember what I said about the sympathetic nervous system, that it activates your fight or flight mode, then you might be asking, why is Björn telling me to activate this fight or flight mode? You said that that's the one that causes anxiety in the first place, right? That is true, but here's the thing. You should be feeling anxious if you're intensely exercising. That system needs to be activated. Also remember what I said earlier, you need to be in control when you activate either one. So right now, when you're intensely exercising, you have to activate it. You can't be in that rest and digest mode if you're fighting passing out. So what this is that we are training our sympathetic nervous system to be in that state when we need to be in that state. Not when it casually wants to wander off over there. Like right now, for example, I shouldn't be in the sympathetic nervous system, and I'm not. I feel really good. But if I'm doing my weekly exercises like my push-ups or pull-ups on the pull-ups bar, then yeah, give me all of those hormones, make me feel good. I need it in order to push myself, but in a good way. So when your exercise is done, you should leave your sympathetic nervous system and enter into rest and digest mode again. It all actually makes a lot of sense, right? Because when we're exercising as tribal creatures, which we still are, by the way, because I do assume back in those days when we were hunting and running away from some vicious animals, we were in the sympathetic nervous system. And after they were done running away or just hunting, they would still enter this rest and digest mode. The best way to incorporate exercise in your daily life is to, yes, do it on a regular basis, but not as intensely as I used in the examples. You don't need to run yourself empty on a daily basis. I'm not saying that you couldn't, but should you? The best and most rewarding way that I found that worked for myself is to do it like 3 or 4 times a week. And if you're on days that you don't have to exercise, still move around and move your body. Go for a swim, hell, go for a walk, or just play basketball or play some tennis. It still is movement, and good movement too. Exercise is exercise. You still get that good endorphin boost out of it, whether you do it intensely or not. My other good advice on how to start exercising is to make it as a ritual. I remember when I was living in Portugal, I used to have a pool there, and I used to go for a swim every single day. And I loved it. It was calm, it was relaxing, and it was also silent. On a daily basis, this was something that I was really looking forward to, and I really do like sitting alone with my own thoughts, as you probably know from my older videos. But take this advice and use it to your own advantage. Make a ritual out of whatever you like to do and make it work best for you. Find some music that you would also like as well and incorporate it to whatever that you are doing. My suggestion here is not to use headphones or the things that you put in your ears and listen to music on a speaker, meaning outside from your head. We are not supposed to hear stuff right inside our ears. It is not normal. We are supposed to hear stuff happening all around us. I remember when I was fighting anxiety, my anxiety always went up when I was listening to music on my earphones. And I began thinking, why is that? And I came to the conclusion that it's again tribal. When you're listening to music on earphones or something that cancels out the noise, then you can't hear what's happening around you in the world. One sense is taken away from you, and it does increase your anxiety. Our brain immediately goes like, what the hell, dude? I can't hear anything what's happening around us. And this is especially true with noise cancelling earphones. But by listening music on a speaker that's a little bit further away from you, you can still hear everything happening around you, and your anxiety drops. I mean, even when we sleep. I'm pretty sure that the only sense that stays on when we sleep is sound. Everything else just shuts off until we feel rested again and wake up. And this all makes sense in a tribal way, because you need to be alert when something is sneaking up on you or someone. And you might be thinking like, why am I speaking so much in tribal terms? It's because all of this is tribal. I'm using tribal analogies because it's all connected to our brains. The same brain that you're using to watch this video and click the like button under the video. Thanks, bro. And I'm using the same brain right now to make this video for you. It is the same exact brain we had back in the tribal days. We just have more information, but we react to our surroundings in the same way. So, use a speaker, and I remember when I first discovered it myself, I felt so much safer when I was using it. And I really do want to emphasize on light exercise as well. It has helped with my anxiety countless of times. And one of the best light exercise forms I know to be out there that I discovered in Portugal is yoga. So the cool thing about yoga is that it makes you feel so much more present in the current moment than other light exercises. For example, look at yourself right now and think. This might be the first time you're doing this, but bear with me. Look at your body right now and feel. Like, how are you sitting right now? Are you like thumped over? Are you in a healthy position? Do you feel comfortable? Is some part of your body feeling tense in a way? Like, is your neck feeling tense right now? So what yoga does is that it makes you do these light exercises with the added bonus of awareness to your body. You can recognize when you are tensed up, and you can learn how to take control of it and let go. It's basically like a weight is being lifted off your shoulders. So yoga combines meditation with exercise, and that is super beneficial of letting go of your anxiety. So now that we calm down the body as well through this not intense or intense exercise, and if you calm down the body, the mind tends to follow. But sometimes our anxiety is still too much, and we need to focus on something else a little bit more. Because you might be relaxed in the current moment, but you still worry about some things that happened in the past and what's going to happen in the future. And again, your anxiety starts to kick in. That f***er. Like, seriously, f*** that dude. Imagine that you have like a public speaking event coming up, some rehearsal in front of some people, or whatever else that makes you feel anxious. Like talking to a really cute girl, or a boy that you really fancy. You can choose to live this moment through like 1,000 times, over and over again. You can think about everything that's going to go wrong. I actually got like a really good example from my own past for this. So I met this really lovely woman some time ago, and I was like really anxious in meeting and talking to her. And by the way, we are actually living together right now and really happy. But there always seemed like 1,000 situations that everything could go wrong and only one to succeed. I could have lived those worries and thoughts in my mind over and over again in my mind, but here's the thing. Your body reacts to your mind, and your body is reacting whatever your mind is thinking about. So when you get anxious, you feel it in your body. So I could imagine everything going wrong in 1,000 different ways. I could be late, I could be telling something off-putting, maybe I even do something that she doesn't like and she just walks away. But if I decide to live only once and only in the moment, that either this situation will go good or bad, I only have to deal with it once. It's a whole new different thing when you're going to choose what's going to happen, what to manifest, and to affirm that everything is going to be okay. So imagining it going so well, it probably will, and it should be doing that. What's like even the point of imagining yourself failing all those 1,000 times or even worrying about it, because the objective is not to fail, but it is to succeed. Because your brain doesn't know the difference between what you're thinking and if it's real or not. And of course, I don't mean fictional things that your brain might be thinking about. Those are not the case, but I'm talking about real situations that can happen in life and not about all those 1,000 other ones that can happen like over and over again. And they probably never will. Like, think about it. If there's something coming up that makes you feel anxious like in a week or a month, you really shouldn't be thinking about it unless you're like planning it out. You shouldn't be imagining any scenarios that probably never are going to happen in the first place. Just don't do it. Give yourself permission to feel certain feelings when they are needed to be felt. It's perfectly normal to feel angry in a situation that makes you feel angry, or to even feel sad when something sad is happening, but there's no use in thinking about these things in advance. There is no reason to keep these emotions and feelings in your body when these emotions and feelings are not supposed to be there. There is truly something to be said about living in the present moment, also about our thoughts. So now we get to the section of being present and meditation. We can be present outside of our meditation sessions as well. It's as simple as this. We are just getting ourselves comfortable and we are focusing on our breath. Our mind is going to wander, but that's what the mind does. But what we do is that we notice that our mind is going wandering and we bring ourselves back to breathing. This process actually goes around with every meditation out there, and do not blame yourself if you are going to get like these anxious thoughts. Every basic meditation teacher is going to tell to you that you don't have to focus on your negative thoughts. They are just thoughts. A thought is a thought. Without you giving it power over yourself, it's just going to remain a thought. Doesn't matter how neutral, positive, or negative it is, but you still should be thinking more positive thoughts because that's what your mind reacts to. You should be thinking about those because that gets rid of your anxiety. But the antidote against both negative and positive thoughts is the same. Thoughts can't have any power over you. When you realize this, it doesn't matter how terrifying, horrifying, or weird a thought might be, they just remain thoughts. With meditation in mind, if a negative thought comes your way, get back to focusing on your breathing. I want to emphasize one more topic about anxiety, and it is social connections. Because again, we are tribal creatures, and if we don't communicate to other people, then we get anxious. Then our minds, they're just dead. That's what being an outcast, being all alone in the woods, actually represents to our minds. Nowadays, if people are just cast away from their social circles and they can't communicate to other people, it is devastating to your own mind. Your mind craves connections. I can't tell you how many times I felt anxious and upset just because I lacked human connections, and simply one phone call just to make it better. It doesn't have to be your family, it can be whatever you want. I personally chose to let go all of my family, all of my past connections, and started over fresh. Not that I'm escaping anything, but I just couldn't find anything positive about them. But I still craved social connections, so I made new ones. So find people that you can bounce your ideas on and off from. So remember, calm your body, calm your mind, and socially interact. But I can be confident about saying that my anxiety is gone. I'm back where I used to be so many years ago, and to be honest, I'm actually better. I kind of went through a massive transformation in my life and turned everything around just to put them back into their old place. Just like cleaning out the closet, and I can promise to you that you can too. Just give it some time and patience. If you have some advice, just leave it down in the comments. I would really appreciate it. And when I see people like you discussing different topics in my comment section, then this usually triggers my interest and I do want to make videos about it. And if you're still here, then you're a champ. You truly are, because this video is really long. So be sure to check out the channel for more interesting videos and be on the lookout for new ones. Calm your body, calm your mind, and I'll see you in the next one. Catch ya.